And so we read in Exodus 9:16, Then the Pharaoh hastily called Moses and Aaron and said, I have sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Now therefore forgive my sin, please only this once, and plead with the Lord your God, only to remove this death from me. So he went out from Pharaoh, and he pleaded with the Lord. And the Lord turned the wind into a very strong west wind, which lifted the locusts and drove them into the Red Sea. And not a single locust was left in all the country of Egypt. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he did not let the people of Israel go. Again, look what Pharaoh's asking here too. He's just saying, just forgive my sin. He's still not agreeing with God's terms. He just wants relief from these plagues. That's all he's looking for. And so you keep reading in 10:24. The darkness comes at this point, and then in verse 24 it says, Then Pharaoh called Moses and said, Go serve the Lord. Your little ones also may go with you. Only let your flocks and your herds remain behind. Again, look at the depravity of Pharaoh. Yes, he's agreeing to let the people go. But again, still not on God's terms. He's still holding his fist in the air against God. But Moses said, You must also let us have sacrifices and burnt offerings, that we may sacrifice to the Lord our God. Our livestock also must go with us. Not a hoof shall be left behind, for we must take of them to serve the Lord our God. And we do not know with what we must serve the Lord until we arrive there. But the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let them go. Again, there's depravity right there. Yeah, Pharaoh agreed to it, but what? He made up his own terms. How many times do people do this? Yes, God, I want heaven. I want to go there, but I'm going to get there my way. I'm going to do it on my own terms. God, maybe I'm going to go and I'm going to take a little bit of sin with me, or I'm going to put some of my merit in my works, and you're going to accept my merit and my works, God. And people do that. They want to get to heaven on their own terms. They want to put God in their own box. There is depravity right there. Yes, Pharaoh was willing to let the people go, but not on God's terms. And that's an important point that we need to see. I think what we need to see here, Westminster Confession 5:6, this kind of talks about God's providence and depravity, and says here, As for those wicked and ungodly men whom God, as righteous judge, for former sins doth blind and harden, from them he not only withholdeth his grace, whereby they might have been enlightened in their understandings and wrought upon in their hearts, but sometimes he also withdraweth the gifts which they had, and exposeth them to such objects as their corruption make occasion of sin, and withal gives them over to their own lust, the temptations of the world, and the power of Satan, whereby it comes to pass that they harden themselves, even under those means which God uses for the softening of others. I think we need to think Romans 1 here, God giving people over to more sin. Apparently, the people described in Romans 1 were not always in that condition. They were given over further and further into more sin, and that's what's going on with Pharaoh here. The last question there, if no, okay, in Mr. Ruggiero's challenge, I think in light of a correct view of total depravity, that yes, a person can offer external obedience to God, but not full and complete obedience from the inside, I think the question is a little bit ill-informed. Okay, total ability means one does not have the ability to please God, to do everything that is pleasing to God. Okay, that means morally, spiritually, and physically, a person can do things that appear on the outside to us to be pleasing to God, but inside, again, the motives can pretty much destroy a whole work like that. So why did God say this to Moses? Well, this is just going to be kind of my opinion and thought about this, but basically God presented to Moses a circumstance that would humanly seem impossible to overcome, going against the mightiest nation, the mightiest ruler at that time. But God declared to Moses, I am who I am. And in saying that, God proclaiming his self-sufficiency, that he will be whatever he will be to accomplish his task and for his people, to accomplish the salvation of Israel. God as I am does not regard human circumstances to save his people. And that's why I think Exodus in 14, I believe 14:30, where it says, and thus God, the Lord, saved Israel. Why? Because it presents God as overcoming what seemed to be the most impossible circumstances. The most impossible. And God overcame them because he truly is God, and his name must be proclaimed. That's just kind of my opinion. Maybe there's some more scholarly sources that can kind of address that question there, but I really think that's what's going on, and why God proclaimed to Moses immediately after saying, "I am," that the circumstances are pretty much going to appear very, very tough. So there's challenge one. Thanks.